Hi, I'm Andre Sprengel.
I'm Ty Van Erden.
I'm Ramissa Farouk.
And I'm Kai Parker. We're here to present
Python PEP 227.
So what is the goal of Python PEP 227? So Python PEP 227 introduces lexical scoping to nested functions. The next slide will have an example showing you exactly what that means. So here in Python, during Python 2.1, if you were to have this function, it would not work because you're attempting to reference balance inside a nested function. So during Python PEP, after Python PEP 227, this will be fixed, and you will be able to access variables within functions nested in other functions.
Some arguments for implementation to consider is why we would have nested functions when we can't use other parts of the environment it's in. Structurally, nested functions can also reduce functionality for other parts within the Python platform. In addition, users who are familiar with nested lexical scoping in other programming languages may become confused and not want to use Python.
So what exactly is being implemented? So essentially, if you reference a name within any code block and is not bound within that code block, it'll go to the nearest enclosing function region and it'll attempt to resolve the name. So here are some details about the implementation of the PEP. Something interesting to consider is that the enclosing function scope will shadow the global scope whenever name resolutions occur. This is a big concern with backwards compatibility.
So this basically makes Python similar to most statically scoped languages with three exceptions. The first one being class definitions. If a variable is defined within a class, you can't access it with a function that's enclosed in that class without the old way with self. The second one is global. The global statement will short circuit these namespace resolutions. Like in this example, if you say global x, it'll actually print 5 instead of 42. And the third exception is that because variables are not declared, any assignment is seen as a new binding. So this doesn't allow for rebinding, except for the case of mutable global variables, which is unusual for a lexically scoped language. So why is this good for the language? The most important thing is that it's better for functional programming. It's cleaner support for recursion and currying. Here's a good example of currying right here. The second thing is lambdas before this were very limited. You couldn't do much with them because you couldn't reference the things that the lambdas were being implemented in. So together with those three things, those create higher order functions, which are crucial to functional programming. So one of the issues, the main thing that the community did not like about this is to break backwards compatibility. As you can see in this example, in Python 2.0 it would have printed 1, and 2.2 will print 2, so a lot of older functions would break. And the other shortcoming is that you can't rebind variables, as we talked about before. You could do it in a very ugly way, basically directly referencing the memory, and people didn't like that.
So are these issues as bad as they seem? It only breaks poorly written code, which relies on the fact that a scope has holes for nested functions. Shadowing a global name and then accessing it from inside of the function which shadowed it is a questionable practice. We agreed with this statement and that only poorly written code would be affected by the implementation of PEP 227.
There are technical issues that hinders the ability to support the rebinding of names in enclosed scopes. As we said before, it's not possible to rebind a name defined in an enclosing scope and could essentially break code. Guido says that this is because it would require a new strategy that would allow programmers and users to specify that an assignment in a block is supposed to rebind the name in an enclosing block.
Guido was correct with his speculation, citing that this feature would result in another of subsequent features, including PEP 3104, which introduced the non-local keyword to Python version 3.3. This proposal, number 227, was accepted and first implemented as an option for Python 2.1. This was via a syntax from future import nested scopes. It wasn't until version 2.2 that this became part of the source code and an official feature of Python. This made the transition to Python less confusing for programmers experienced with nested functions. Overall, this PEP is on track with the overall vision of Python.